We'll get in some questions with the panel before things get underway. John Avlon is joining me. He's a former chief speechwriter for the Giuliani campaign. He's also the author of Independent Nation. Mary Walter is a conservative radio talk show host, and Marianne Marsh is a former advisor to Senator John Kerry. Welcome, everybody. So this is going to be the big talk, of course, in Washington this week, this stimulus package. I mean, everybody that I talk to out on the street says, we got to do something. So there's a huge amount of momentum right now for Democrats because everybody feels like we've got to do something. John, do you think there's any hesitancy on the part of some of these projects, because I've been going through exactly where this money is going to be spent, that the charge that some of this is pork or some of this is earmarks is something that Democrats want to be careful not to do?
Well, certainly you're already seeing Republicans trying to attack this stimulus plan by anecdote and sort of cherry pick the things in the bill that seem absurd and say that's emblematic of the entire thing. Now, Democrats do have wind at their back. This is, President Obama has an enormous amount of political capital. He's spending it in this. And the sausage making season is just beginning here.
Right.
This is going to likely lard up further. But you have to say that the Republicans can't afford to simply be the party of no in an economic crisis. They're going to need to contribute. And then Obama's going to have to reach out and do something more than photo op bipartisanship, really get some collaboration.
You know, John McCain over the weekend said that he isn't sure he can sign on to this stimulus package. I could only think, listening to that, what if he had said no to the original TARP $350 billion, which has turned out to be a debacle and might have been a stronger point for him during the campaign, but that's the past. So let's look forward. Do you think that they're going to really push this hard, and what can they get if they do, given their position?
Well, I think part of the problem with this is that this is a bill that was crafted by the Democrats. They shut the Republicans out on this. So you want bipartisanship, and you want the Republicans to work with you.
They're saying there's a lot of tax cuts in this program.
There are, but there were no Republicans in on the drafting of this bill. And that's part of the problem. You put a token one on to make the Republicans happy. They need two Republicans to vote for this in order for it to pass. And John McCain said he will not vote for this. There's too many unnecessary projects. Yeah. They said there's no earmarks. In the official bill, it says there's no earmarks in the the briefing, but there's plenty of pork. Plenty of pork.
Let me get Mary's thoughts on this a little bit. There's some things in here that I think Republicans do like, and one of them is this the depreciation for small business owners, which is something that I know a lot of Republicans feel very strongly about. How much, I guess, is the question, are they willing to give back, if anything, to Republicans over the course of this week, Marianne?
Look, the reality is, Martha, you heard Major say that Barack Obama wants bipartisan support. He's going up the hill to get it. I think the important thing here is to target those senators who are up in 2010 who have some tough races. Let's look at them. I mean, Chuck Grassley in Iowa is one. Judd Gregg in New Hampshire is another. Specter in Pennsylvania. And yes, John McCain in Arizona could have a real race. So Republicans have had every opportunity to participate in this process. They haven't had great ideas. They keep coming back and say, we want more tax cuts. That's not going to be debated because Barack Obama's right. He won that in the election. Right. In this environment, 5% of nothing is nothing. But there is a way to get them on board, and I would pressure those guys who are up in 2010 who are going to have a tough time hanging onto their seats.
Yeah, I mean, John, that's the major point here. I mean, Republicans, how much can they say at this point when they don't have a lot of credibility on this issue in terms of cutting spending?
That's exactly right. I mean, the Republicans have lost moral authority on fiscal responsibility, so there's no credibility, no credible counterpoint. But Barack Obama deserves a lot of credit for sort of turning the page on this 51% means a mandate attitude in recent past. He did include $300 billion of tax cuts, specifically as a way of making a balanced plan to reach out to Republicans. Now, there's going to have to be further negotiations. He should be open to improvements in that package. And Republicans should play a constructive role rather than simply being obstructionists.
But when you talk about cherry picking, to me that's looking closely at the bill. Okay, do we have that Nancy Pelosi sound in the control room? There should be a call for, yeah. Let's take a look at this.
One of the initiatives you mentioned, the contraception, will reduce cost to the state and to the federal government.
So no apologies for that?
No apologies, no. We have to deal with the consequences of the downturn in our economy.
What is she? Okay, I think what she's saying is that the state should pay for birth control so that there are fewer children because they're expensive.
But yet in New Jersey, where we have a program, S-CHIP program, for health care for families and children who are below the poverty level, not enough people signed up. So the Democrats went out and they raised the income level so they could get more people onto the program.
Yeah,
Marianne,
is this a good road for Nancy Pelosi to go down? I mean, I know she's a mother of 5, I believe, a grandmother of 6, but this is not a notion that's going to be popular in many parts of America, that, sort of federal birth control for everybody is going to solve some of the economic crisis.
All right, I think first and foremost, we need a stimulus package with a lot of strings attached, and literally every single penny should go to either create a job or save a job, first and foremost. We can't go through what we went through at the end of the last Congress and George Bush, where all the money went with no strings attached, and you had $1 million makeovers of offices with a $1,000 trash can. That can't happen because it has not helped. So it's all going to be focused on smart projects, and if it's not on that, throw it off the list. It should get crossed off. That's something everybody should agree on.
Marianne, that's not going to happen. I mean, there is so much in here.
It has
that
to,
is
Martha.
not going to.
That's the difference.
Listen, I agree with you, and I think most Americans do. But sadly, we've seen the way things work in Washington, and a lot of this junk that is in here is going to be in here. And I'm with you. They should only be in there if it's going to create a job or save a job. And there's just a lot of junk in this bill.
Barack Obama has the chance to do that. He has a chance to do it because it's his first swing at the plate. And if he does, he can change the way government runs. He can change the way business has been operating, because that helped us get in this position. He needs to seize the opportunity, and I think he will.
You think he will, John?
Well, I think he's certainly going to try, and he's got a mandate to do it. This is a very expansive definition of stimulus that they're taking on once they talk about family planning. And they clearly need to be careful about adding items that distract from the overall message. They need to focus like a laser beam on job creation. That needs to be the clear message. And anything that distracts from that should be taken out.
Yeah, I mean, there are good things in here for extending unemployment benefits. There are things in here that involve health benefits, things that sort of help people get from day one to day two so that they can feed their families and, continue to, even food stamps in this kind of environment.
Sure.
I think people can understand, an increase in the period of time that you can get that so that you can get by, so you can hopefully get that job and still feed your kids. But a lot of the stuff in here, and he has said that. Mary, that he wants to go line by line. He wants to get rid of stuff.
He said
do you believe that he will do that on this bill?
I don't think he will. That was one of the things that we've talked about, is that, the listeners have said, this guy stood up there and told me he's going to go line by line and take out the pork. But what one man's definition of pork is, somebody else's is a needed. It's a needed project in my district. The people where I live need this. And people in other parts of the country are saying that's pork. So he's going to be very careful, because he may take, if he goes through it, which I doubt he will, because he's beholden to these people, and it's mostly majority Democrat.
Yeah, I hope we get a chance to talk about the car companies, because they're showing some little bits of encouraging signs, and I think it's interesting when you leave some parts of their business to their own devices, what they're actually doing about it. So we're going to go to Trace, because we're under the 2-minute warning here, and we want to make sure that we get the top of this briefing. So thank you guys, and we'll keep a watch on this. Trace, back down to you.
And again,